The galaxy had learned one lesson: never underestimate humanity. Weeks passed after the awakening of Final Dawn. Entire alien fleets were crippled. Systems once considered safe became traps, and every civilization began to whisper the same word in fear and awe: humanity. But the Human Council remained calm. They did not celebrate. They did not strike beyond what was necessary. Their fleets patrolled silently, watching the stars. Humanity's warning had been tested and the consequences had been shown. Yet the Council knew the final step had to come. Humanity's message had been heard, but the galaxy needed clarity. Fear alone would not guarantee peace. A single broadcast reaching every corner of space would finalize what humans had built through patience, strategy, and sacrifice. The day came when the broadcast was ready. On Earth, in the Council chamber, representatives from every colony gathered. Holographic screens displayed every system within reach, every star, every fleet, and every planet. Admiral Corin stood at the center, silent, watching the preparations. "This will reach every corner of the galaxy," said Dr. Lyra Miles, who had worked on Final Dawn since the beginning. "They will hear us. They will understand. And there will be no doubt." The room fell silent. Every human present knew the weight of this moment. They were not speaking to threaten, but to define a new era. Every life lost, every ship destroyed, every colony burned. It had all led to this clarity. Corin raised his hand. "Begin the transmission." Across the galaxy, screens flickered to life. Every channel, every signal, every communication network was hijacked simultaneously. Static filled the air, then clarity. A single human face appeared. The background was simple, Earth visible in the distance behind them. It was neither propaganda nor celebration. It was calm, resolute, and unwavering. The voice spoke slowly, deliberately. "This is humanity. You have tested our warning. You have ignored our words. We have acted in defense with precision and restraint. Now you know our strength." Every fleet paused. Every council fell silent. Even the oldest leaders, whose empires spanned thousands of years, could not look away. The broadcast continued. "We offered peace. You chose war. Haven and other colonies were lost, but the spirit of humanity endured. Our warning was not empty. Our patience was not weakness. And now the galaxy will know this truth. If you strike at us again, there will be no limit to the consequences." The words traveled fast, carried by every communication system, every sensor, and every satellite. Humans in distant colonies watched the same broadcast, hearts swelling with pride, tears of relief and sorrow mingling. For the first time, the galaxy could see humanity as humans saw themselves, not as prey, not as victims, but as protectors of their own existence. In outer sectors, alien fleets tried to respond, to argue, to deny. But the words were clear, the power undeniable. Ships that had once attacked human colonies now trembled in uncertainty. Whole empires debated while others withdrew in fear. One alien general whispered to his commander, "They have the power to destroy everything. We cannot risk another attack." Meanwhile, humanity's fleets continued their silent patrol. Not one ship moved aggressively. Not one weapon fired unnecessarily. The humans had demonstrated power enough. They did not need further destruction. Their strength was now in restraint, in unity, and in clarity. Dr. Miles monitored energy readings from Final Dawn. The device had proven itself, though it remained fully armed, ready to respond instantly if another attack occurred. "We have proven our point," she said softly. "Now the galaxy must respect that point." Corin nodded. "Strength alone is not enough. Our voice, our strategy, and our restraint make us stronger than any weapon. Let them see that humanity cannot be threatened, cannot be bullied, and will never surrender." Across the galaxy, the alien alliance crumbled further. Arguments turned to panic. Orders that once came with certainty now carried doubt. Fleet after fleet withdrew to defensive positions. Ambassadors begged for clarification, seeking mercy, seeking peace. They realized that humanity's final broadcast was not empty threat or empty words. It was a statement of fact. Humanity had become unstoppable when provoked, united, and precise. Some empires tried to test humanity again. A small scouting fleet moved near a human system, hoping to gauge their readiness. Within moments, the fleet found itself trapped in gravitational anomalies and energy fields it could not understand. Ships disabled themselves to avoid destruction. realizing too late that the humans had turned even the void of space into a shield. On Earth, the Council convened once more. This time, there were no speeches of anger or vengeance. Every representative knew the galaxy had witnessed humanity's strength. Admiral Corrin addressed the Council. The broadcast has gone out. Every civilization has heard our words. Every fleet has seen our capabilities. If peace is desired, humanity has shown the way. If war is chosen again, humanity will respond decisively. The galaxy now knows the truth. The room was silent, filled with understanding and quiet pride. They had done what many had thought impossible. They had defended humanity's place in the stars without unnecessary bloodshed, without blind rage and without surrender. Humanity's people across the colonies celebrated quietly. Engineers, pilots, farmers, and teachers alike understood their role in the defense and survival of their species. Stories of bravery and sacrifice were told from parents to children. Captain Voss's final stand at Haven became legend. Every survivor, every worker, every soldier had contributed to humanity's rise. Even children in school spoke of the broadcast, repeating the words as if they were a vow. We do not bow. We do not break. We are human. The alien alliance faced a choice. They could retreat entirely, accepting humanity's dominance or risk further attacks. Few were willing to act. Pride still lingered in some hearts, but the reality was undeniable. Humanity had the power, the strategy, and the resolve to enforce their warning. The risk of another attack was too great. One by one, fleets returned to home systems. Entire planets once eager to conquer now sought alliances, trade, and peace. Humanity had not only defended itself, it had reshaped the political map of the galaxy. Back on the Bridge of Defiance, Admiral Corrin watched as reports streamed in. Alien ships were retreating. Communications from distant empires were filled with cautious respect. Star systems once considered contested were now recognized as neutral or human territory. Commander Juna spoke quietly. It seems the galaxy understands now. Corrin nodded. Yes, they understand that humanity's warning was real, that we will defend ourselves, and that we will survive no matter the odds. Our message is clear. The galaxy belongs to those who seek peace. But if war comes again, there will be nothing left. The bridge crew remained silent, absorbing the magnitude of what had been achieved. Humanity had done what many thought impossible. They had survived against impossible odds, united as one, and become a force the galaxy would never underestimate. Far from Earth, among the stars, the final transmission continued to echo. Every fleet, every station, every world heard the same message. Humanity's voice, calm yet unyielding, filled the void. This was your last attack. You brought this upon yourselves. Humanity offered peace. You chose war. We warned you. Now the galaxy belongs to all who seek peace, but if you bring war again, you will find nothing left. And then the signal ended. Silence returned to the stars, but it was no longer empty. It was filled with respect, understanding, and caution. Humanity returned to its work quietly, without fanfare. Colonies rebuilt, fleets continued their patrols, and engineers worked on new technologies. But for the first time in generations, there was peace, not because the galaxy was weak, but because humanity had shown that their unity, intelligence, and resolve were unmatched. They had endured loss. They had endured fear. But they had survived, grown stronger, and earned their place in the stars. The final dawn had risen. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity's warning was no longer words, it was truth. And from that day forward, no civilization dared to test the resolve of humans again. Humanity had spoken. Humanity had defended, humanity had triumphed, and humanity would never bow. The planet Vera was a world of rivers, green valleys, and silver mountains, but now it was covered in smoke and ash. The skies were blackened with fire, the cities burned, and the sound of battle shook the land. The defenders of Vera, once proud and brave, were broken. Their banners were torn, their weapons were dull, and their hearts were heavy with fear. For many weeks, the Zorath Dominion had been attacking without pause. The Dominion's war machines were tall and heavy, their soldiers ruthless and endless. Wherever they marched, destruction followed. The coalition of alien races who had promised to protect Vera had fought with courage. But courage was not enough against such numbers. Every battle ended the same way, with retreat, loss, and despair. On the ruined plains outside the capital city of Dravenholt, The defenders gathered once again. Their armor was scratched and burned, their eyes red from smoke and sleepless nights. Many whispered that this might be their last stand. At the center of this weary army stood General Terran, commander of the Terran forces. His tall frame was bent with exhaustion. His wings, once strong and shining, drooped with dust and blood. But his voice remained steady and his eyes still carried a spark of fire. He walked among his soldiers, speaking to them with quiet strength. "Hold your ground," he told them. "If we fall here, our world will be lost. We cannot let the Dominion break us completely." But even as he spoke, he knew his words might not be enough. His soldiers were tired, their weapons almost useless, and reinforcements had not arrived. The other coalition fleets were scattered or destroyed. Some allies had already abandoned the fight, leaving Lyra to face the storm alone. Above them, the sky trembled. Great Dominion warships hung in the clouds like shadows of doom. Their cannons glowed, ready to strike again. Everyone could see that the end was near. One soldier, a young Terran named Kyle, whispered to his companion, "No one can stop them. Not us, not anyone. The Zorath will take the whole galaxy." His companion said nothing. Around them, silence spread as fear took root. Even General Terran could hear the despair in their voices. He wanted to answer, but deep in his heart he too wondered if they were right. Could anyone truly stop the Dominion? Suddenly, a strange sound cut through the rumble of the enemy fleet. It was faint at first, like static, but it grew sharper and stronger. The coalition signal officers looked at their devices with confusion. "General," one officer said, "there is something new in orbit. Unknown transmissions. It does not match Dominion signals nor any of our allies." Terran frowned. "Could it be a trick?" Before the officer could answer, a bright flash lit the sky. Every eye turned upward. The clouds parted as something descended from orbit. Not Dominion warships, but small, sharp vessels glowing with blue fire. They were unlike anything the coalition had seen before. Sleek, fast, and purposeful, they cut through the smoke and fire as if the planet itself had called them. "What are those?" Kale whispered, his fear replaced by sudden wonder. The strange ships slowed, then released burning trails that streaked toward the ground. At first, many thought they were weapons, some new kind of Dominion strike. But when the trails grew closer, the defenders saw shapes within them, metal pods falling fast and controlled. The ground shook as the pods slammed into the battlefield. Dust and heat burst outward, blinding soldiers and enemies alike. For a heartbeat, silence fell across the field. Then the pods opened. From inside stepped figures unlike any the aliens had ever seen. They were tall, but not too tall. Their bodies were wrapped in sleek exosuits, shining black and silver with glowing blue lines that pulsed like living veins. Each figure carried weapons long and sharp, weapons that hummed with hidden power. Helmets hid their faces, but their movement spoke of discipline, precision, and unshakable purpose. "Who are they?" asked one Terran soldier, awe in his voice. The answer came not in words but in action. The figures marched forward in tight formation, not breaking stride even under enemy fire. Dominion cannons lit the ground around them, but the newcomers moved like a single machine, swift, calm, unstoppable. Their weapons fired bursts of light that tore through Dominion armor as if it were paper. Their blades cut down soldiers twice their size. General Terran watched with wide eyes. He had fought alongside many species, but never had he seen warriors like this. Their courage was not wild or desperate, it was controlled, measured, absolute. Even when surrounded, they did not panic. Even when the Dominion pressed hard, they did not break formation. The coalition soldiers stared in shock. For so long they had fought only to survive. But these newcomers were fighting to win. Something about them, something unseen, spread through the ranks like fire. Fear began to fade, replaced by hope. One of the newcomers raised a hand, signaling to the others. With perfect timing, they split into groups and attacked from 3 directions at once. Dominion lines that had held for weeks crumbled in minutes. The defenders could hardly believe their eyes. "General," said the officer beside Terran, his voice trembling, "these warriors, they are not from any world we know." Terrell's gaze narrowed as he studied them. "No, they are not. But they are not our enemies. The newcomers fought with the coalition, not against them. And as the defenders realized this, something inside them changed. Soldiers who had been ready to give up lifted their weapons again. Voices that had spoken only of despair now shouted with new courage. They did not know who these warriors were or why they had come, but their presence was enough. General Terran spread his wings and raised his voice across the field. "Stand with them. Whoever they are, they fight for life, for freedom. Together we can still hold this line. The army roared in answer. The Dominion, sensing the sudden change, pushed harder, but it was too late. The defenders fought with renewed spirit, inspired by the strangers who had fallen from the sky. The battlefield, once silent with despair, now thundered with determination. As the sun struggled through the smoke, General Terrell stood tall, his heart burning with new fire. The battle was not yet won, but for the first time in many weeks he believed it was not lost either. Something had changed. These new warriors, whoever they were, had turned the tide with their arrival. They were not just fighters. They were symbols. They were hope made real, and though no one on Vera yet knew their name, soon the galaxy would learn it. They were humans, warriors from a forgotten world called Earth, and they had come to fight. The battlefield of Vera still smoked from the last clash. The broken plains were covered in fire and ash, but in the middle of the chaos stood a new presence that no one expected. The mysterious warriors who had fallen from the sky now marched in tight formation, their glowing suits reflecting the burning sky. General Terrell could not take his eyes off them. Their armor was smooth, not bulky like Dominion steel, and their weapons were precise rather than heavy. Every move they made was sharp, as though every step was calculated. For the first time in weeks, the Dominion soldiers hesitated. "Who are they?" whispered Kyle, the young Veran soldier, gripping his weapon tightly. His voice was filled with awe. The newcomers did not answer right away. They fought in silence, their weapons blazing with strange blue light. Wherever they aimed, Dominion soldiers fell. Their rifles fired bursts that cut through armor as though it was glass. Their blades, made of some shining alloy, hummed as they sliced through machines twice their size. But it was not just their weapons that made them frightening. It was their discipline. No one broke formation. No one moved out of place. Even under fire, they held their lines perfectly. They did not shout or panic. They acted as one. General Terrell had seen many races fight. Some were strong, some were clever. But these warriors were different. Their style was both ruthless and controlled. They did not waste a single strike. It was as if battle itself was a language they spoke better than anyone else. At last, when the Dominion pulled back slightly, one of the warriors stepped forward. She removed her helmet with a hiss of air. Her face was pale compared to the Veran's, her hair dark, her eyes sharp. She looked younger than Terrell expected, but her expression carried the weight of countless battles. "I am Captain Elena Ward," she said in a steady voice. "We are the Terran vanguard sent from Earth. We came because we heard your call for help." "Earth?" General Terrell repeated the word carefully, tasting it like something half forgotten. He had studied many stars and many maps, but the name stirred little memory. Earth was not part of the coalition. It was not even on most star charts. "Yes," Ward answered. "Perhaps you do not know us." "That is fine. We are a small world. But when we heard of the Dominion spreading across the galaxy, we could not stay silent. We do not fight for conquest. We fight for survival, yours and ours." The coalition soldiers stared in silence. Some were doubtful. A small, unknown planet sending warriors into the heart of the Dominion War? It sounded impossible. A Veran officer muttered, "How can they help us? They are too few. We have seen entire fleets fall." Captain Ward heard the doubt, but she did not flinch. She placed her helmet under her arm and looked directly at General Terrell. "You are losing because you fight the Dominion the way they expect. You meet them head on, strength against strength. But we do not fight that way. We fight smart, we adapt. We never stop until the enemy breaks." Her words were not proud or arrogant, they were simple truths. And somehow everyone who heard them felt their weight. General Terrell studied her closely. There was no fear in her eyes, only determination. After a moment, he gave a small nod. "Very well, Captain Ward. Show us what your people can do." The next hours changed everything. The humans did not rest after landing. Instead, they immediately began planning counterstrikes. Captain Ward and her squad leaders walked among the alien officers, studying maps and scanning the terrain. Their eyes caught details the coalition had missed. "Here," one human pointed at a ravine. "If we plant charges, we can collapse it when their armor pushes through." "Here," another said, pointing to a Dominion camp. "If we strike at night, from 3 angles, they will scatter before they can regroup." The coalition commanders listened, surprised. The humans thought differently. They did not talk about numbers or raw strength. They talked about speed, surprise and striking where the Dominion least expected. That night, the first joint strike began. The Coalition soldiers watched as the Terran vanguard led the way. Their suits blended into the darkness, their steps soundless. They moved like shadows across the ruined plains. When Dominion sentries appeared, the humans silenced them instantly. No wasted noise, no wasted motion. Captain Ward signaled with her hand, and the attack began. Explosions lit the night as the humans struck the Dominion supply lines. Their weapons pierced fuel tanks and shattered ammo depots. Fires spread, lighting up the black sky. The Dominion roared in anger, but before they could organize, the humans were already gone, vanishing into the darkness. By dawn, the Coalition learned the full impact. Entire enemy units had been left without food, without fuel, without communication. For the first time, Dominion discipline cracked. General Tyrell could hardly believe it. He had expected the humans to fight bravely, but not to fight with such perfect precision. He turned to Captain Ward, who was studying the battlefield reports calmly. "You struck them where they were blind," Tyrell said softly. Ward nodded. "War is not only about strength. It is about pressure. Enough pressure in the right place, and even a mountain will break." News of the humans spread quickly among the soldiers. They began to whisper about them not as strangers, but as legends. "They fight like they were born in war," one alien soldier said. "They do not fear death," another replied. "They fight for all of us," said a third. Morale rose higher than it had in weeks. The defenders began to believe again. Every soldier stood taller, every voice louder. The Dominion for the first time seemed uncertain, but the humans were not perfect. They were few in number. Every battle tested their strength, and though they did not complain, their exhaustion grew. Captain Ward knew it. She knew that to win, the Coalition itself had to change. The humans could not carry the entire war alone. So the Terran vanguard began to train the aliens. They showed the Varans how to fight in squads, not as scattered fighters. They taught the Coalition how to set ambushes, how to cut supply lines, how to use the terrain to their advantage. Simple lessons perhaps, but lessons that saved lives. General Tyrell watched his soldiers change under human guidance. For the first time, he felt that victory might be possible. Not just survival, but true victory. The Dominion noticed too. Their leaders had expected another easy conquest, but instead they now faced resistance sharper than ever. Reports of human tactics reached the ears of Overlord Codex, the most ruthless commander in the Dominion. From his flagship, high above Vera, Codex studied the battle reports. His clawed hand tightened over the table. "Humans," he growled, "a forgotten race daring to stand against us." His voice was deep, filled with fury. "If they are not crushed now, others will rise behind them. The galaxy will see weakness in the Dominion." He turned to his lieutenants. "Prepare everything. We will strike with full force. I will tear these humans apart myself." Back on the ground, Captain Ward stood with General Tyrell on the walls of Dravenholt, looking out over the smoking plains. "The Dominion will come harder now," Tyrell said. Ward's eyes were fixed on the horizon, calm but determined. "Let them come," she answered. "They think this world is already broken. They are wrong. Together we will show them what it means to fight." Tyrell looked at her, then at her soldiers, tired but unshaken, outnumbered but unafraid. A small smile touched his lips for the first time in many weeks. The Coalition had been broken. The battle had been nearly lost. But now, with these strange warriors from Earth, there was hope. And hope, he knew, was more powerful than any weapon. The war for Vera had reached a strange balance. For weeks, the defenders had known only defeat, retreat, and despair. But now, with the arrival of the humans, the Terran vanguard, the battlefield felt different. The Coalition had begun to breathe again. Soldiers who once whispered of hopelessness now whispered of victory. They still feared the Dominion, but they no longer feared without end. Because standing with them were humans. Warriors who had come from a small, forgotten world, and who fought with a strength and discipline none had ever seen before. Learning from the humans, General Tyrell walked among his camps at night, listening to the change in his soldiers. No longer did they sit in silence or stare blankly at the fires. Now they spoke, laughed even, while sharpening blades or cleaning weapons. The humans had brought more than tactics. They had brought spirit. Tyrell paused near a training ground where Captain Elena Ward and her team instructed Varan squads. "Do not stand in a line," Ward explained firmly. Her voice was calm but sharp. "The Dominion expects lines. They crush them. Instead, you move in smaller groups. Spread out. Watch each other's backs." She stepped forward, showing with her own movements how to shift from cover to cover. Her squad mirrored her, sliding between broken walls and shattered stone like flowing water. A group of young Vayrans tried to follow. Their steps were clumsy at first, but Ward's patience held. She corrected their stances, showed them how to use the ruins as shields, how to attack and vanish before the enemy could react. General Terrell nodded with quiet approval. The humans did not hold their knowledge close. They shared it freely, as if they wanted the coalition to stand as equals, not as dependents. New tactics, new hope. The changes soon appeared on the battlefield. In the northern hills, Dominion armor marched through a narrow pass. Normally, this would have crushed the defenders. But this time the coalition set traps. At the signal, charges hidden beneath rocks exploded, collapsing the cliffs onto the enemy. Those who survived were met by swift squads that struck and vanished before the Dominion could regroup. In the eastern plains, the humans led a night raid on a supply caravan. Instead of fighting directly, they attacked from multiple sides, cutting the Dominion off from retreat. By dawn, the entire caravan was destroyed and not a single human was lost. The coalition soldiers were astonished. They had always fought as large armies, meeting the Dominion head-to-head. Now they saw how small, clever strikes could do more damage than endless waves of soldiers. Word spread quickly. Soldiers told stories of humans who appeared out of the dark like ghosts. Humans who destroyed Dominion tanks with clever traps. Humans who never seemed to lose their nerve. They fight with their minds as much as their weapons, one alien soldier said with wonder. And they teach us to do the same, another replied. The Dominions. Anger, but the Dominion did not remain blind. Their leaders, far above in their massive warships, studied the sudden change in the war. Reports reached Overlord Codex, the feared commander of the Dominion fleet. His red eyes glowed as he read the data. "These humans," he growled, his voice echoing across the chamber. "A forgotten world dares to challenge the Dominion, and they win." His lieutenants lowered their heads, afraid of his anger. "They turn weakness into strength," Codex continued. "They give hope to the broken. This cannot stand. If we allow them to continue, they will inspire rebellion across the stars." Codex slammed a clawed hand against the table, cracking the metal. "I will not allow it. Prepare the full force. I will crush these humans myself." The pressure builds on the ground. The humans sensed the coming storm. Captain Ward stood with General Terrell atop the walls of Dravenholt, watching the distant fires where Dominion forces gathered. "They will strike soon," Ward said. Her tone was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "They will come harder than before. They will throw everything at us to prove they cannot be beaten." Terrell folded his wings, his face lined with worry. "We are stronger now, yes, but still outnumbered. Can even your people stop what is coming?" Ward's lips pressed into a thin line. "Alone? No, but together? Yes, you have seen what your soldiers can do when they fight with us. That is the path forward." Her words carried weight, and Terrell felt them settle in his chest. For so long he had carried the burden of defeat. Now he carried something else. Belief. The turning point battle. The Dominion attack came at dawn. The ground trembled as their armies advanced, endless in number. The sky darkened with their warships, cannons glowing like fire. The defenders braced themselves, knowing this would be the fiercest battle yet. General Terrell raised his voice across the walls. "Hold fast. Today we fight not as broken armies, but as one. Stand with the humans! Stand for Vera!" The roar of the defenders echoed across the battlefield. Then the storm broke. The Dominion charged with heavy armor, their machines firing bolts of plasma that shattered stone and scorched earth. Waves of soldiers followed, screaming their war cries, but the defenders did not meet them with blind charges. Instead, they split into squads, striking from the sides, vanishing into ruins, reappearing where the enemy least expected. Humans led many of these squads. Captain Ward fought at the front, her rifle firing bursts of blue energy, her blade flashing whenever the enemy drew too close. She moved with perfect control, each strike precise. Kel, the young Veyran, fought beside her. He had once whispered of hopelessness, but now his eyes blazed with fire. He mirrored the humans' tactics, covering his squad, striking with speed instead of desperation. Everywhere the Dominion pushed, they met resistance unlike before. The battlefield became a maze of traps and ambushes. Tanks exploded in narrow streets. Soldiers vanished under sudden strikes. Dominion formations, once unstoppable, began to break. Overlord Codex himself landed on the field, his massive form clad in black armor. His presence alone terrified the defenders. But the humans did not falter. Ward saw him from across the battlefield, her eyes narrowing. "That one is their heart," she said. "If we cut him, the body will bleed." Fear turns to fire. The battle raged for hours. The Dominion pressed harder, throwing everything forward. But the humans continued to adapt. Every trap, every strike, every small victory pushed the defenders to fight harder. And then something happened that no one expected. The Dominion began to hesitate. Their soldiers, once fearless, looked around nervously, whispering of the humans. They had faced countless enemies across the stars, but none who fought like this. None who refused to break. None who turned hopeless battles into victories. The defenders saw this fear, and it gave them strength. General Terrell shouted across the lines, his voice full of fire. "They fear us! Do you see? They bleed. They can be broken." The roar of the coalition rose, shaking the air. For the first time in memory, the Dominion did not look invincible. The end of the day, when the sun finally set, the battlefield was scarred and smoking. Bodies and machines lay broken across the plains. Both sides had lost much. But when the dust settled, it was clear. The coalition still stood. The Dominion, for the first time in centuries, had been pushed back. General Terrell stood beside Captain Ward on the walls of Dravenholt, his wings lifted high. "Today," he said softly, "we did not just survive. We won." Ward nodded, her armor scorched but her eyes shining. "This is only the beginning. The Dominion will not stop, but neither will we." Terrell looked at her soldiers, at the defenders who had once been broken but now stood tall. A smile touched his face. "Yes," he said, "this is the turning point." The sun rose blood red over Vera, burning through the smoke of the previous day's battles. The plains, once scarred and silent, now hummed with movement. The coalition had survived, but victory had come at a cost. The Dominion would not forget, and they would not forgive. High above the planet, in the vast blackness of orbit, Overlord Codex glared down at the world. His ships were larger, faster, deadlier than before. His armies had recovered from the earlier defeat and were ready for vengeance. But this time, he would strike not with waves of soldiers alone, but with total force. A combined attack from land, sky, and orbit. "Prepare everything," Codex commanded. His deep voice resonated through the ship's halls. "We will show these humans and their allies the true might of the Dominion. We will burn their hope from the sky." The calm before the storm on the ground. The coalition knew the danger was coming. Captain Elena Ward and General Terrell surveyed the northern plains from the walls of Dravenholt, the last major city holding strong. The human warriors had prepared for this moment. Their tactics had changed the course of the war, but the Dominion had learned too. "The Zorath have brought everything," Ward said, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Heavy armor, warships, orbital cannons. They mean to crush us completely." Terrell's wings flexed with tension. "And yet we still stand. We have the humans, and now we have belief. That may be stronger than their weapons." Ward gave a small nod. "Belief alone won't win the battle, but strategy, courage, and unity can, and we have all three." The sky ignites. By mid-morning, the first signs of the Dominion strike appeared. Shadows stretched across the plains as warships descended from orbit, releasing squads of armored troops. The sound of engines filled the air, a deafening roar that shook the earth. Dominion plasma cannons fired from above, turning forests into firestorms. The defenders braced. Humans and aliens alike took positions behind ruined walls, boulders, and crumbling towers. Captain Ward's voice rang out clearly across the field. "Hold the line. Watch the skies and the ground. Remember what we taught you: adapt, strike, survive." The Dominion soldiers advanced with brutal speed. Their numbers were overwhelming. Entire squadrons of coalition troops found themselves pinned under relentless fire. Machines rolled forward, crushing trees and rocks, leaving nothing in their path. Yet the humans did not falter. Captain Ward led a squad of Terran vanguard soldiers, dropping from an orbital pod directly into the heart of the enemy lines. Their descent was precise, almost surgical. When they landed, chaos followed. Blue streaks of energy cut through Dominion armor. Tactical strikes split groups apart. Every move was calculated, every attack measured. The Dominion, for the first time in years, faced soldiers who refused to panic, soldiers who struck with speed and vanished before retaliation. Ground and sky unite. General Terrell commanded the Terran forces alongside Ward. The aliens had learned the humans' techniques: ambushes, small squads, rapid strikes. Together they moved as a single lethal unit. Dominion soldiers who had expected easy victory were thrown into confusion. In the skies above, Dominion warships fired constantly. Plasma bolts sliced through clouds, igniting fire across the plains. Yet humans and coalition pilots worked together, dodging and weaving between firestorms, striking vulnerable points on enemy ships. Ward's second in command, Lieutenant Jaron, piloted a small combat craft, firing guided shots at enemy vessels. "Keep moving," he shouted over comms. "They can't hit what they can't see." Below, the Dominion's ground forces struggled. The humans on the field disrupted supply lines and split enemy units, forcing soldiers to retreat under continuous pressure. Ambushes, hidden traps, and sudden counterattacks turned what should have been an overwhelming assault into a battlefield of confusion. Personal courage. Amid chaos, the fighting was brutal. Dominion troops, though terrified, were skilled. Many coalition soldiers fell in the first hours. Machines exploded, leaving clouds of dust and flame. Amid the chaos, Captain Ward fought tirelessly, her presence inspiring everyone around her. Kyle, the young Terran, followed her closely. He moved faster than he ever had before, striking with precision, shielding his comrades. He had learned from the humans, but he added his own courage, refusing to retreat even when surrounded. "Cover me," shouted Ward, diving behind a ruined tower as a Dominion tank rolled forward. Her rifle fired bursts that destroyed the vehicle's engines. "Now!" she signaled to Kale and his squad. Together they struck from both sides, forcing the tank to collapse into a ravine. Even General Terrell fought at the forefront. His wings beat through the smoke, his strength unmatched. He led charges, helped fallen soldiers, and coordinated attacks. The humans had taught him new strategies, but the combination of his experience and their innovation turned every small battle into a victory. The turning tide hours passed. The Dominion had thrown everything forward, yet their forces were weakening. Soldiers who had once been fearless hesitated. Machines faltered as precise human strikes disabled critical components. Ambush after ambush forced the enemy back inch by inch. From the walls of Dravenholt, Terrell observed the battlefield. The humans were everywhere, in squads, in ambushes, in the air, in the ruins. Their adaptability, courage, and precision had turned hopeless situations into victories. "They are unstoppable," one Terran soldier whispered. Terrell nodded. "Not unstoppable, just relentless. And relentless is stronger than any weapon." The heart of the Dominion at the center of the Dominion army, Overlord Codex appeared. His massive form was terrifying even from a distance. His armor gleamed black with red highlights and his eyes burned like coals. He carried a massive energy blade crackling with power. He surveyed the battlefield and saw humans leading charges, coalition soldiers holding the line, Dominion units faltering. His anger boiled. These humans, they will not die. They will not break. I will crush them myself. Codex stepped forward, cutting through his own soldiers to reach the humans. Each strike of his blade shattered walls, machines, and soldiers alike. Yet Captain Ward met him head-on. She moved with incredible speed, dodging and striking, her energy blade clashing against his weapon. For a moment, the battlefield seemed to freeze. Two leaders, one human, one Dominion, stood facing each other, the weight of countless lives between them. Around them, the coalition rallied. They fought harder, inspired by the courage they witnessed. A glimmer of hope despite the destruction. Hope burned brighter than ever. The coalition soldiers, once broken and fearful, now believed. Every human strike, every clever trap, every inspiring word turned the tide further. By evening, the Dominion had lost ground. Their advanced armor and relentless numbers could not overcome strategy, courage, and unity. Soldiers fled, machines broke down, and the sky was filled with smoke from destroyed warships. General Terrell stood beside Captain Ward as the dust began to settle. "The Dominion, they have never faced warriors like you," he said quietly. Ward shook her head. "We are not alone. Today the coalition fought beside us. They fought for themselves, for their home. That is why we can win. That is why they can survive." Terrell nodded slowly. And survive they will, because today fire fell from the sky and with it, hope. Aftermath, the battlefield lay in ruin, but the defenders remained. The humans had proven their strength, yes, but more importantly, they had proven that the coalition could fight, adapt, and survive. Even Codex, though still alive, had been forced to retreat with the remainder of his forces. He would return stronger and angrier, but for now, Vera breathed again. The coalition celebrated small victories, honored their dead, and prepared for the battles ahead. Captain Ward stood atop the highest wall, looking out over the plains. Her soldiers gathered around her, tired but unbroken. She spoke softly but clearly. Today we survived. Tomorrow we fight again. But remember this, nothing the Dominion can throw at us will break our will. As long as we fight together, as long as we do not forget courage, no battle is lost. The humans had fallen from the sky like fire, but they had left something more powerful behind. The spirit to fight, the hope to endure, and the courage to win against impossible odds. And as night fell over Vera, the stars above seemed to shine brighter. The Dominion had been warned. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never forget it.